go, man.
It's May 6th, 2021. Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Good morning.
This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 400. Golly, 475. That's a lot of talking for each of us.
Yeah.
A lot of times, mostly me, but still, that's 475 hours
Of
prime
content.
Prime, scheduled, outlined, 1 through 10, perfectly executed podcasts.
Today, 475 ways
Unreal.
to improve.
470, that's a lot. I mean, 500 is going to sound like a lot too, but sometimes like the number just kind of sticks out a little bit more than it usually does when I think of like how long we've been doing this. And whatever. I'm not going to sound old. I'm already old enough already. We hope you don't feel old today. It's a gorgeous day again here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I still love thinking back there though. Hey, listen, and you're like, what's a podcast, man?
I still don't really know what they are. Like, I don't listen to any. You're like, hey, have you listened? I'm like, no, I seriously, I know it's probably weird because I'm sure people who like do podcasts probably listen to like all kinds of other podcasts. Like they're trying to get other content, or they're trying to like, compare, or, get good ideas, or, be creative, or they watch YouTube things, and zero. I don't listen to a single solitary podcast. I don't even think I subscribe to ours. I don't watch anything on you. I don't do any of that stuff.
That's amazing. But so you're still into it's funny how the world has shifted that way, where, the podcasts are really a big deal right now, obviously.
Are they?
Yeah, they're big. I mean, I think they're moving the focus. It's weird, but like off of the, mainstream entertainment has gone into these little pockets of podcasting, and, like, I don't know, I feel like Hollywood films aren't that huge of a deal anymore. Now it's just sort of a Netflix thing, or, Amazon Prime, but there's so much content on YouTube and, podcasting, platforms, that it's just really weird because, there's just not, that many more people or anything. And everybody's going to these places. So they're leaving probably traditional radio and all those kind of things.
Yeah, no,
For guys like you and me.
Yeah, they're like, if those guys can do it, we can do it.
Super niche, man.
That's like that's probably like the one thing we bring to the podcast universe. People look at like us and they see the podcast and they're like, dude, if those guys can get 500 5-star reviews, we sure as hell can. But no, I don't listen to a single.
You probably can if you stick with it.
That's also probably true. I'll listen to like an occasional, like if someone shares like an interview with like a coach or something that I really admire, like I want to learn about, but I don't go out searching, or like people like, I just fell down the YouTube rabbit hole. I'm like, I don't even have any idea what that is. Like I don't search the tube. Do they call it the tube?
Yeah, I don't think
YT?
so. YT?
No, they don't call it any of that. The UT. Speaking of, hey, we appreciate you. We know you have a lot of, if it's your first time listening, thank you. We promise we'll get into some triathlon talk. Again, this is podcast 475. It's first time tuning in, give us another shot. We have a lot of topics to go over today. We also cover a whole lot of triathlon and a whole lot of life. Sometimes we'll do race recaps, race previews, have on an occasional guest. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, they've been doing this podcast for close to 5 years. We just kind of sit back, relax, an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what we know our athletes are going through that we coach all over the world. Sometimes we'll hop into our Facebook group, which is an awesome community that we have of our podcast listeners. If you want to be part of that, just search on Facebook, Crushing Iron Group, answer one simple question. We'll let you right in. A lot of awesome people in there. A lot of chatter going on right now as races have picked back up full steam. So be a part of that awesome community. So we'll take that pulse sometimes and let that be the driver for the podcasts. We'll occasionally do kind of in-depth, technical, more data-driven podcasts on swim, bike, and run technique. We have an awesome How to Not Suck series, especially with swimming, that's very popular. And obviously with 474 episodes in the archives, Mike does a really awesome job of taking notes during the podcast and doing an outline, and then we can kind of pick and choose and maybe fast forward or rewind if you want to listen to, things over again, or just skip through some things. And he does an awesome job with that. But we're not professionals. We're not experts. We're just experienced. We've been doing this for a long time, and I think one of the things that a lot of people like about our podcast is that we just kind of seem like everybody else, which is true. We are just like you in so many ways. Like, we're still trying to figure things out. We just happen to have, experience, and being in the sport for a long period of time. Mike and I both come from, obviously very like vastly different backgrounds. We also have a lot of similarities. So makes for a fun topic and a fun conversation. We generally have no idea where the podcast is going to go. People are always like, hey, what's your topic today? I'm like, we don't have any idea. We just kind of get on and riff, but being fully immersed in the sport with a training center here in Chattanooga and working with our athletes and being hands-on with them and also coaching remotely and doing it for something. We always kind of have something to kind of riff on. So we'll do that. We'll riff today some.
Yeah. I guess you got a couple ideas.
Yeah, a couple ideas just from going through some stuff this morning.
Yeah. I just want to quickly throw out that I mean, as a normal person that's looking at a race 20 weeks from now, I've kind of been, okay.
Now that you're counting down.
Now that, yeah, I looked, it starts next week. It's 20 weeks to Chattanooga full. And
is it really?
Yeah.
I better get my act together.
That's the thing. Yeah, that goes, I better get my act together thing. And I've kind of been doing it because your
act has been getting together.
I've been hitting the pool a lot, and I'm slowly kind of getting my shoulder back, and it feels good, actually. I've been getting some swims in, and I think I'm almost at the point where I'm going to shave my legs. I think that's kind of like a okay, I'm going to get going here. I don't know. Why are you looking at my legs, man?
You're going to shave them?
I think I'm going to do it. And then that gets my bike going,
The shaving of the legs and the arms is like it's the nonverbal cue that says, I'm back. I'm back. I am a triathlete and I am back. Like, you don't shave your legs and your arms. And if you're, a dude, you might shave your chest. You might, get real trimmed out for race day. And it's like, you got to really shave those seconds off, man. I got to shave a couple of seconds about feeling smooth. And cyclists shave their legs not to be faster originally. They shaved it so when they would wreck, they wouldn't have to pick the gravel and stone out of their hair. They could just clean it up really easily.
I know, but I love it every year somebody posts that wind tunnel video that says 2 minutes on an Ironman.
That's right. Hair. Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, but not to consider, how horrible the rest of the position is. But yeah, dude, go for it, man. Shave those stems.
I'm gonna.
I see I can tell you're thinking about it today because it's actually quite chilly today, and you're in a t-shirt and shorts with your newts on, like you're showing off your calves today. But this is the kind of stuff I have to deal with. I'm in a hoodie and long pants, and Mike's in a Hanes t-shirt, some short shorts, and his Newtons with his legs just kind of propped up. Look at me, shave me, let me glisten, let people see me, let me shine.
Yeah, I love that feeling. The first time you jump in water with shaved legs is kind of nice. I'm looking for anything I can get, dude.
Do it, man.
I'm
just
gonna
do
shave
it.
my head next.
You're not gonna do that. Hayden's been asking me. He's like, "You should shave your head." I'm like, "No, I lived that life. I'm not going back. I don't like the way that I looked. I'm gonna keep my hair." But no, I did. Before I go into I'll kind of toss them up as the two things we could go at today. But before I go any further, I want to mention. Obviously, we have Chattanooga 70.3 coming up. It's in our hometown right now. Our training center is literally maybe 2.5, 3 miles max from downtown, where the actual race starts. Maybe 3 miles. I don't even know if it's that. Maybe I think it's 2.5. So we are right smack dab and close to downtown on a very awesome the south side, and we'll be posting in our closed group and then on social media, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere else. And sending out to our own athletes, obviously, a schedule where we'll be open. The hub will be open starting for our active athletes on Thursday, and then to the general public, it'll be open Friday and Saturday, and then we'll have a post-race shindig, BYOB on Sunday evening. But the place is yours. We'll open up to the community and to our listeners and athletes, and for your fans, Mike. We'll have some gear, water bottles. We'll have Normatec chairs set up, Normatec boots. Which I don't even know if they're doing that right now at the expo, but we will have them. We have 8 pair. We'll have some cornhole set up out back on the AstroTurf. But yeah, we'll be here hanging out. If you're more than welcome to use our treadmills to get your warm up run in. If you want to run outside, we'll have our endless pool cranking out pretty much all day Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you want to get in a quick little dip and you can't find a place to swim, hop in for 10 or 15 minutes, see if your wetsuit fits. You're more than welcome to join. But just come in, say hi, get a selfie with Mike. And, stare at me from afar and think, yeah, I'm probably not going to take a picture with that guy.
Come on, man.
No, I'm actually quite friendly. I'm more of a one-on-one kind of guy. You're more of a group person.
I don't know if that's true, man. I kind of I like having a group, and then I kind of find my corner.
Yeah, and then you leave. And then Mike disappears when he's reached his limit. He just kind of when he's emptied his glass, he just kind of goes. But yeah, we'll have that. So be on the lookout for that, and just come see us again. We're at 1603 Fagan Street, Unit 101. We got street parking. Come see us. Garage doors in the front, garage doors in the back. open access, come see us and let's celebrate. And it's basically the grand opening we never had.
Yeah.
Because like last year we were gonna have our big grand opening on Chattanooga 73, and then obviously, the whole world went to, hell in a handbasket, and it was dead silence. So now come by, come see us. We'll have coffee mugs as well, have coffee brewing all day. Just come by and say hi. We'd love to see you. But yeah, topics for today. So I had two, and I think I could obviously go either way. I'll let you kind of jump on. The first one is something that I've kind of noticed in Training Peaks. Obviously, it's been a really interesting last like 12 to 18 months, obviously for all kinds of reasons. And I think this happens routinely with just people in general, but that I think because I was honestly very shocked and surprised at how well so many athletes were able to continue on during the pandemic, given the amount of stress and anxiety so many people were under or feeling, or they were scared for their health or whatever they were feeling. Like I was incredibly shocked and surprised, honestly, to an extent, of how well people kept up, how people were continuing to be. It was like their guard was heightened. Like they had this like extra sensitivity. Like I need to be on it all the time. Like in order to like take care of myself, take care of my body, take care of my family, take care of my work. There was kind of this heightened sense of responsibility and resiliency. But what I've also seen now over the last month or two, when things have become more relaxed, is that I don't want to say some athletes and some people have tended to lose motivation, but I think anytime you go from like a heightened sense where you have to be on all the time to kind of more relaxed state, is I think you can only hold that for such a long period of time, right? Until you're kind of like, I can't do this anymore. Like I need to relax a little bit. But what I'm seeing now for some is like not a disinterest in the sport, but kind of like I can breathe a little. Like I need a little more flexibility. Like I worked hard for so long to stay so consistent and to stay, so ready and to keep my life together. Because for a lot of people, and this too with the athletes you work with, like training for a lot of these athletes was like the only thing that they had control over, like in their daily life. Like they were going back to work, their kids weren't going to school, they were going to school, they were pulled out of school, you could go to this, you could go to that, now we can't. Everything was changing. So a lot, like in the last year, like, during the pandemic or no trials, we grew, as a business with athletes, and the majority of them said, like, I can't imagine not having this in my life because I need this kind of structure. I need to have this because it's some sense of normalcy in what felt like a world that was not normal. And now that the world is kind of more relaxed and flexible and you can do a lot of more things and you're feeling better, it's been interesting to see how athletes kind of have shifted their mindset and their response to a more like, I can finally breathe now. Like, now is when I can take a little bit of time off now that I've made it. Like I've made it to the success. Now it's time to relax. Like, and you see this in professional sports all the time. Like, teams do this and they just kind of like, we're up by 20. I can relax. And all of a sudden this team comes roaring back and they're like, oh, I can't just like snap back at it and like put things on. They end up getting beat. That was one. You want to riff on that before I go to my next one? Or
yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there and
a lot to unpack there, Robbie.
A lot to unpack. Well, there's a couple of thoughts I had about that. Was one is, do you think how important do you think races are for getting better? So in other words, can you imagine if you're just saying, I'm going to race in 5 years and all I'm going to do is train on it and just keep training and training and training. And of course this will be like 2 years for a lot of people, or a little bit more sometimes, or less, or whatever. But like, at what point do you need the game experience? And is that big a deal? And secondly, what you're saying is really interesting because there's sort of a contradiction coming up, because it's kind of relaxing maybe now, but also now the races are coming. So I was talking to one of our athletes last night, and it was this, like, when you're going into a race 3, it's like you really got to kind of focus 3 weeks out. You got to kind of clean up your diet. You got to really think about sleeping, and it just becomes more of a focus. So it's kind of a relax, and then it's an intensity, even though a lot of people in taper kind of do the same thing.
Right.
So it's almost like, yeah, we have like an extended taper, then a ramp up to the race. And I don't know. What do you think? I
think we've changed like the level. I guess where I got going on this, when I was reading Training Peaks comments yesterday or this morning, was like an athlete made a comment like, I think my baseline of stress has shifted. has changed. It's either less or it's more. I can't really tell what's going on. But I think that's true. Like, so many people did so many things in the last year and a half, some good, some bad, because they just needed to do something. Like, we were all just doing the best we could, right? Like, no matter what, like, we all just kind of like made it work to the best of our abilities, to just make it work for us, like, no matter what it looked like. And I know it was different for some people, and it was much different for others. Some people just did the best they could, right? And so you gravitated towards things. You had to find things that could just get you through the day. And for a lot of people, that was training. It was structure. It was, even though if a race wasn't going on, it was just having that stability in their life and being a part of the process. And then now that they kind of like let their guard down, other things kind of tend to bubble to the surface. And I think a lot of people's baseline just probably shifted the last year and a half, which is okay. Like, we all do things as kind of like a, to not control, but to protect ourselves, right? We all have this like mechanisms, like self-preservation is always number one. Like, we're always going to do whatever we need. And a lot of people's self-preservation technique or method to surviving last year and a half was training for a triathlon, right? But there's also only so long you can hold this heightened sense of holding on to something that's taking care of you until all of a sudden it's not like you don't need it anymore. But it's also like, maybe my view and my relationship with triathlon shifted into more of something that I loved and I did it for fun because I could do it whenever I wanted, to more of a sense of, I have to have this to survive. And I know that sounds dramatic or over the top for some people, but I can tell you I guarantee it saved people's lives this last year or improve their quality of life in a lot of ways, from depression and anxiety and worry and like all these things that has taken over so many people in the last year and a half. Like, and so I think it's going to take some time for people to get back to, oh, that's right, I did this for fun, not because I feel like I had to just have something. Like, it changed our relationships for a lot of things, and I think that's just an important, it changed people's relationship with work, right? Like, now no one wants to go back to the office for a lot of reasons. Now we're always like looking to take less money to go somewhere else and work remotely. Like, it changed the way we saw and viewed and felt so many things. And I think it's just important. It's an important discussion, or at least a topic to bring up, is that that's okay, right? Like, you can't be kicking yourself in the butt, but I think people are going to find that now they're letting their guard down, not at the quote unquote wrong time, but the timing is probably bad because races are now full go. And people have been, we always talk about it, when people train for an Ironman, and at least the way that we coach, people are usually spent mentally and emotionally. Like, that's where they meet their limit. Like 2 or 3 weeks out, they're like, I'm just ready. Like, can we just do this already? Like, that's when you're done. And people have been doing that for 18 months. There's only so much bandwidth and so long, but like such a long period of time you can do it before your brain and your body and your motivation, your focus just needs to be like, okay, dude, I just need to relax for a little bit. Just do whatever I want. I've been doing this for a long time. And it just happens to also coincide with, we're back, like racing is back. Like, so I just think it's interesting, like the timing and how long it was to now that, I almost think it's for some people to be like, God, I generally believe that some people are maybe not disappointed that racing is back, but maybe frustrated or not nearly as excited because they're like, oh shit, I needed a break. Like I needed a break. I didn't take an off season. Like I used last year as like to hold on to some kind of hope and optimism to like have some normalcy to my life. And now I need that break from it because now life is back to normal, but oh shit, racing's happening. Like I gotta pop back on the horse. And I just think it's important to say, like, take whatever time you need whenever you need to have it. Like, don't feel, pigeonholed into a choice you made more than likely 2 years ago. Ultimately do what makes you happy.
Mm. Well, that's an interesting way to put it because it's weird for me personally, the timing of it hit probably at the right time because I needed a break. And I'd been doing, 7 straight years of Ironman training. And I was, even before the pandemic hit, I was kind of going, man, is this like, it's the old, only ollies and halves, or whatever. I was kind of like in that phase of like backing it down. So I knew something was up. And as it turned out, I kind of just turned inward. And I basically turned, I don't want to say completely off from training. I dabbled, and I was just trying to find my sweet spot and just find a groove where I kept going and sticking around, So I wasn't that person where I was like, I didn't need triathlon. I kind of went the other way. I was looking for other things. And as it turned out, it was kind of a long, painful year for a lot of people, including me, and for different reasons. And now, as we're getting into race season, and it's a weird timing for me. But that's the thing is, like, if you have faith in things like that, I was never really worried about it. I was just kept searching. I was like, all right, what is it going to be? What is it going to be? What is it? And I have kind of come to the timing of things right now where I've got enough time, because I've been the whole way, I was thinking about getting into Chat 70.3 about 2 months ago, and I'm like, I'm just not there. Mm-hmm. And it was easy for me, not super easy, but I just was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to watch it. And I've been thinking about other halves and all this kind of stuff. And then in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Just keep doing what you're doing, and let's just go for Chat full, and let's not complicate the whole process right now or put other stresses on it, because I don't want to bounce back to where I was. I want to keep turning the right way, and going towards something that's feeling right for me right now. So I don't know. I think a lot of people probably did the same thing I did. I mean, they just basically shelved it, especially after their race got canceled. And it's like, screw this, man. And
Ironman Texas started the year off with a cancellation. Everybody's like, oh, there goes the year. We're never going to race again for the whole rest of the year.
Yeah.
Even though we were like, it was political. And it was. But it's like,
yeah, but that's kind of the point that's frustrating.
Right. I know, but I get it. But it's at the same point. It's like, and we've talked about this a lot, obviously, over the last year and a half, is like, a lot of you signed up, a lot of us signed up for races like 2 years ago. We're all different, right? Like, and I think that's just like that's one of the parts of the game. It's like, as grown adults, right, that should know better. We still do stupid things, right? Mm-hmm. And we still struggle in like tug of war with like who we are and what we want to do, what we feel like we're obligated to do. Like, well, I signed up for it, so I've got to do it. So you'll put yourself through like 16 weeks of miserable training to do a race you don't even want to do, right? It's like, then don't do it. Like, you can do and be like you're chatting somebody like you. I don't know that you probably tell me, but like, it was probably more like, I feel like I either need to do it, or maybe it'll be what gets me back, but I don't really want to do it, but I feel like it needs to be done.
Yeah, that's really.
I mean, like you're a grown man, successful, happy in your 50s, and it's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, but you had this like feeling of like, I think I have to do this. Like, and why? Why did you feel like you had to do it?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to do it when I signed up that day, and then I was like, oh shit. About a month later, I'm like, man, why did I? But I think it's, you want to be involved. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of it. I think where it comes down to a lot of, people want to race, people want to do it, and people want to, we all want to improve. And I do think that, like, I don't know, I'm sure you think of this too. Like, after every race, you kind of regroup, and then you decide, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? Let's try and shift this a little bit, or keep going the same way, and just be better. And, for me, a lot of times it's for, when I did Chat 70.3 the last time, that was, I did Wisconsin after that, and that kind of flopped a little bit for me personally, but it wasn't a bad race, but it just didn't feel what I thought was going to maybe happen after I did Chat 70.3 early in the year. And I was right on that one. That's the feeling I want to get back. And I think I have a strategy for it, but that feeling was so good to be in control of that race and feel strong about my effort and not be wiped out and the whole other thing. And it's just like, wow, I was really in a good spot then, and I think we're kind of looking for that spot all the time. And for me, I'm a guy that typically likes to sort of be backed in a corner and just for a challenge. And that's kind of what I do to myself. A lot of times I've done that with, and I think that's like, it's in a way it's a fear that I create for myself. And because I know I can solve it, but at the time it kind of gets my juices flowing or whatever. And it's sort of like you go through these streaks in training where it's like you need a little jolt or something to pick you up. And I'm one of those guys, I'll be honest that, I don't know if I can train consistently if there was nothing on the calendar. And we've talked about that many times in this podcast about putting it on the calendar. And it really is just, like a, if you break it down to some simplest terms, it's just a goal, right? like if you write something down, I mean, that is like down in stone, you know, internet blockchain stone. It's in there, you're signed up, and if everybody knows it. And, you know, I've been thinking about that in terms of, you know, I've been like one of those persons, like people that are like, everybody has too many goals or whatever. But I think writing things down or putting things down, like it has a way of sort of intrinsically motivating you or making you kind of bring your act together. So for me, that's one reason. I mean, that's just the basically the triathlon side of things. And I know because what we do, it's so important for me to be engaged. You know, that's the other thing. It's like, and plus I feel like, you know, at my age, I'm younger than most people my age in a lot of ways. Certainly, at least on the outside. But I just want to keep it going, you know, and that to me seemed like the thing to do.
But to, you know, psychoanalyze you went for the result. You didn't look for what got you the result, which was how you were in training, right? If you look back at the races you've enjoyed the most, you've done the best at, it wasn't, you got that race day feeling because you did the race day feeling work that got you to that point, right? So it's like, oh, well, if I sign up for a race, then I'm going to get that race day feeling back like that. But you only get that if you do the work, and you have to be in the right place, right, to do that work. And I think we all do this, like we're human, like we make we agree to do something we really don't want to do just because like that thing is what's going to do it for me. Like, I can't tell you how many times I see people gravitate towards these like 100-day run challenges or streaks and then absolutely fall apart for 3 months, basically wiping clean and negating that whole quote unquote streak that just happened. Like they put so much into one streak that when it's over, it's done. Like I've literally seen multiple athletes do like this 100-day run streak, or I'm not going to miss a day for, 45, 9 days, just because, not because I condone it, but because they just want to, and then literally fall off the shelf and don't work out for 3 months.
Yeah.
So what was the point, right? It wasn't to get better fitness because you just lost it, right? It wasn't to get consistent because you're not, right? So I think like that's just, it's an interesting like psychological, not imbalance, but like internal tug of war that we have of like, what do we need to get there, right? And a lot of times, like a lot of people in AA or the program say like, just fake it till you make it, right? Just fake it till you make it. Like keep going to meetings, keep doing your daily prayers, keep doing things, just fake it till you make it. Which I get to an extent, but at the same point, it's also like you can just easily unfake it, right? You can be out the door like, I'm not really all in. I can just do whatever. But in a way, for triathlon and training, sometimes it is that way. You just kind of, I'm just doing it just to do it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it kind of makes sense. But I generally believe it all has to come together at once, kind of like on accident. It's kind of just like all things collide. Mentally and emotionally, you're like clicking, things are there. And then physically you're like, I feel pretty good. Like things just start to like come together and they kind of like pull each other up at the same time. Yeah. But if you're not doing one, right, then you're not going to feel the benefits of being right there with all three. Like you have to kind of, at least, like you said, this kind of be like, just stick around, right? In order to be like, to want, like, especially when people like are just coming off the shelf totally, like you can be mentally and emotionally like in a great place. But if you go and take a run and have these like really unfair and unrealistic expectations, you can go do the run and be like, that's so disappointing. Like I really should have been faster. Like look how far I have to go. And then all of a sudden you're right back in a mental and emotional quandary. Like you're not as happy anymore because now, so you really have to, I think, just kind of hang around and be available and do the best you can until you can kind of put them all together. And listen, no one has it all put together. Like, I feel like we should all know this as adults. Like, everyone seems like, they're trying to keep up with the Joneses and they are the Joneses. And, no offense if you are the Joneses, but, like we do these things where we assume everyone else has it together. Everyone's crushing it. And then we kind of, hear things and like, okay, maybe not like me. Maybe I'm not alone. Maybe I am the majority, which is life is hard and life ain't perfect and we're just kind of doing our best, but we see all these other people, like we have these expectations or people tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that, and then you're like, yeah, you're probably right. Like we use that as like we take that as like almost this negative affirmation that's like, you're right, I can't do that. And you're like, you kind of like breathe easier, because if it's this like extraordinary thing you wanted to do, then you're just like, thank you for letting me off the hook. Like I don't have to really go with this anymore, because, you know, I shouldn't, or I can't, or I really shouldn't do this. And like, you know, I just think that's like this whole identity and perception that we need to just shelve and just get rid of, is like, do whatever you want and be whatever you want. Like, who cares, right? But we still get so stuck, right? And our identity is, we use this analogy on maybe 100 podcasts ago, is like, you know, we're always the last ones to the party, right? We're always late to figuring things out. Like, you know, we've mentally and emotionally shifted. We're this new person, you know, or from a fitness standpoint, like we've gained all these, you know, these feelings and things like that. And, you know, but our body's like, hey, hello, like, I'm like 10 years ahead of you. Like I'm crushing it right now, fitness wise. You know, and you're like, wait a minute. Oh, I'm not that person. We're always kind of late to our own party, right? To figure out like really who we are and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. I was just thinking, there's a podcast maybe about 200 ago where we were talking about, you asked me what my strength was, and we talked about, and I always thought it was cycling, right? And you're like, I think it's run. And I'm late to my party. I mean, I feel like that maybe I'm finally, I believed it at the time in some regard. And now I'm starting to feel it, right? So what I keep thinking about, man, is like, you know, when I typically train for an Ironman, what do? I kind of go, and it's always kind of like, I got to go run. I got to get my run. And then I kind of throw my bike in there. And I know a lot of like biker or swimmers that are like this. They throw a swim in every once in a while or whatever, but I will always like pick up my swim 2 months out, and I'll start going after it. And I'll be like, and so now, but what I'm thinking in my mind right now is I'm flipping that, because the swim is what my weakest for sure. And I'm in my mind going, why don't I like start that now, get that really dialed in, and just, even though it's Chattanooga, it's a downstream swim, all that, but just really turn my swim into one of my strengths. And then also along the way, kind of get that bike in, and because I still feel like my whole thing is always saddle time. You know, I just feel like I could be a lot better cyclist if I just put more time in the bike. Well, most people could, but so that's where my mindset is right now. And I'm going to let that, like you're saying, like when all things kind of click, you know, I don't want to burn my run out too early. And, you know, I'm talking about as a 55-year-old guy. I don't have to be the fastest guy in the block, you know what I mean, anymore. I got to be a strong runner. Mm-hmm. I got to be able to hold it. Just one time I want to get off that bike and actually feel strong through past one loop or whatever. So I'm kind of taking, you know, and I talked about that last time, rebirthing. I think I'm going back into this thing from a totally different perspective. One of like, I want to make swimming a priority and biking a priority, and really mean that. Because we all say that, because what's the point if you can't get off the bike strong? Your run's screwed anyway. Doesn't matter how many, you know, intervals you run or whatever. If you're like walk running at mile 8,
doesn't matter
at all.
You know, at all. You know,
like I just rather take my chances on the fact that I've been running my whole life, and if my legs are really strong and I have a good engine and chassis built, I might have a better shot at that point. You know what I mean? It sounds simple.
I mean, if things in life sound simple, because you're like,
for me to run a 9, like I usually run a 10-minute pace, and for me to run a 9:30 pace,
you're a 4:20 guy.
4:20
on the nose, baby.
To run a 9:30 would be amazing, and you know, to me, 9:30 is not a stretch from 10.
I was going to say, it doesn't seem unrealistic at all for you.
Yeah. So,
but is it something you think you can do?
Oh, for sure. I think I can do better than that. Dude.
Better than that? You think you can hold 8:30s? But it does.
I'll talk about that later.
You know, off the podcast. No, it's. I just think it's an interesting. I think that's one of the things that we tend to forget as well. Is like we're always changing, right? As people, like no matter who we are and what we do, like we're always changing, and like we are a, you know, we are obviously like always and always will be like a culmination of everything we've ever been in life. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, we are who we are for a reason. We became what we have become for all different, you know, reasons because of what we've been through. You know, a lot of it is like, you know, even we could go through this with athletes, like, you know, well, you know, I had a bad coaching experience, or my parents were really hard on me. And like that those things stick with you for like a very, very, very long time. Like I think that's also something that we tend to forget is like how we're wired and why we're wired, certain ways and what we believe or what we think we can't do or what we think we can do, or to the same extent, like what we should do, right? Or what we're allowed to do. It's like, you can't do this. Like, for me, like I grew up in a, the Southern, like, very Church of Christ picture, quote unquote, picture perfect home. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening, I love you. It's like you go to college. If you want to be successful, you go to college. You graduate in 4 years. You get married in college. You meet your college sweetheart. You get married. You have a couple kids, a white picket fence. You go to work. You go wear a tie, and you do this. Like that's living the dream. That's what you're supposed to do. And then as you get older, you feel like that's really not how life works at all. But it's what you feel like you should do. And then there's also things like you feel like as we get older and go through life, it's like we figure out things like we adopt this identity of things that we can't do, right? That we're not allowed to do, that we have taken on like societal norms or self-shamed ourselves into certain areas. Like that was like the other topic I was actually going at today is like at like 6:45 this morning, I found myself like painting my fingernails pink because earlier this week at school, Hayden wanted to paint his fingernails pink like Allie, and she was like, sure, paint your fingernails, who gives a shit, so he went to school and he had his like fingernail painted, and this kid made fun of him because he was like, those are only girls wear that, like you should, so the next day or the next morning he asked us to take them off because he didn't want this kid to make fun of him, and he's like you can't wear that because you can't do that because you're not a girl. And obviously, like, kids are mean and like ruthless and like they don't really know what they're saying, but to the same extent, so we're adults, like we're just grown up kids. And so this morning I was trying to have like a teachable lesson with him and ended up painting my fingernails because I was like, you can do and be whatever you want to be. Like outside of like, gender stereotypes and societal stereotypes, it's like no one gets to tell you who you can and who you can't be, what you can and what you can't do. Like that's something that I, grew up with is very much, a shame thing. And then like even going through treatment and not having a college degree and getting sober and basically starting my life over and going through a bunch of all like different things. Like I heard so frequently, like, you probably shouldn't do that. Like you probably can't do that. Like you should probably stick to this area and this area and this area. And I was like, screw you. Like I want to do this. Like I want to do this and I want to get back to doing these things and I want to become this and I want to do this. And now, thank God I didn't listen to anybody because I was like, now I'm living like, as happy as I've ever been, it's like in doing these things. It's like, but if I had to listen, like you probably should stay away, from that. I'm like, I would just, like, I can't. But instead it was like, I'm just gonna kind of do whatever I want to. And that's okay. But that's how we should live our life. That's how we should train and do races. And how we do is like, do what you want to do. Because if you really like, I had this conversation yesterday with an athlete who's just kind of going through like a really tough period with depression, I think, and just work is super slow. So they're just not leaving the house. Because like, as you know, like some people are like, oh, I'd love to not work. I'm like, would you? Because like for most people, it is not healthy. Like you just sit and you just sit and you just sit. Sitting begets more sitting and sitting and like being, and just makes you feel like crap. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, does anything make you happy right now? I was like, not really. Like nothing right now really makes me happy. I'm just kind of doing, trying to do it. I'm not really getting anything out of it. Then I was like, then we need to stop doing it. Like, oh, well, but I need to do it, just because I'm like, well, if you're not into it and you don't like it, you don't want to do it, then it's still not going to do anything for you. It's not going to be long lasting. So we kind of rearranged the next 10 days and I kind of made a goal, not a plan, but I was like, all right, here's the deal, because I've been there before. Like when I just can't get up and I can't leave the house. And then like the next day it becomes even harder because then you feel so crappy. You're like, I want to get up less and do less. And I was like, you have until 9:30 every day. And I was like, what time do you get up? He's like, I get up around 6:30. I was like, all right, I'll give you about an hour, coffee, a little bit of sleep in, do your deal. But then before 9:30 every day, you're required to do 60 minutes of something and you're not allowed to do it inside. Can't be on your trainer, can't be on a treadmill, and you're not allowed to go to the pool. Which may sound insane to people, but I was like, and you can't go to the pool, it's not allowed. And he was like, yeah, I was like, because I just need you to get out and do something. Like you need to be outside. You need to be doing things that are active. I don't care if it's an hour trail run. I don't care if it's an hour gravel bike. I don't care if it's an hour walk. Get outside and do something and be it's not necessarily being productive. It's get outside and be a part of something, like do something active, and then we can kind of see where you're at after this little period of time. But that's the deal. Before 9:30 every day, be on some kind of a structure and some kind of a process. It's like, this is doing me good. Because if you're not all in, then you're all out. There is no like halfway. Like you're either in it and you believe it or you don't. There is no, and if you're that way, you're not going to get anything out of it anyway. So I'm like, no, I could tell you to go back to the pool and like, that's his weakness. And I was like, I know you're aware about that, but it's like right now, who cares? Like that's the last thing in our last thing in our mind right now.
Yeah, 100%.
is like, improving your technique in the pool. You're not happy. You don't want to be doing anything because you're down and depressed. So let's work on getting you happy first, because when you're happy, everything else falls in line. It at least seems easier and more attainable, right?
Yeah, because you have energy.
Yeah, you have energy.
And man, that's great. That's kind of what I'm going through, even though I'm going to the pool. It's just this, I'm not even like swimming hard. I'm just kind of like mixing it up with running in the water and doing breaststroke and just swimming. And it's like doing that for me right now. That's the thing that I needed. It was like, I've tried the treadmill and I've tried running outside and I've tried doing some biking. It's just like, it feels okay, but it's not really like kind of giving me that thing in my stomach where I'm like, yeah, man, this is like kind of going the right direction, and that's what you want to feel. It's so funny. You're talking about your picture perfect home and then like going to college and everything is, that's how you got to go do a job and everything. Like when I was going to college, it was sort of like go pick the cheapest school that parties a lot that still has a good reputation. It was kind of like a big social escape or something like that. And and you're talking about being free. Now this is like such a great topic, man. I almost wish we would have talked about it, but I think it worked out good, to bring this up now.
Yeah,
and the thing with Hayden and everything is like,
tend to do it.
It's just so weird, man, how we grow up with that. Like, like I think a lot of triathletes probably have like I don't know, that sort of a lot of guilt about something, that just sort of rides with them. And if you miss because you see it's the simplest things. If you miss a workout, I think there's guilt in there. And what is that? And then you got to find what you're telling this person to do, get outside and do something. That's what we're looking for, man. I was just saying, it's like this pandemic put us inside. It created that like, doubly difficult get out. For a lot of people, I'm sure it became harder and harder to get out and do stuff. And then all of a sudden you're around the house a lot, or you're not, looking for that thing, and whether it's work or a hobby or something that really kind of ignites you, and breaking through the idea that like, whether it is crazy, whatever it is, if it's something that makes you happy, you can't feel guilty about it, but we still carry these loads, it's like a lot of times, it's like I think about, okay, what am I going to do? I love to write. And then I'm thinking, yeah, but what is writing going to do for me? Hey, what are you doing tonight? Come on, let's go. I'm going to write because I really want to do that. No, you have to like follow your gut, your passion, whatever you want to call it. And you have to do it without guilt. And like why there's so much guilt in our world is just mind-boggling. Think about how much you've carried, like,
That's like, yeah,
and we all feel guilty just because we train sometimes.
I think one of the greatest, and that's also the thing is like, people want to, and we do this to ourselves as well. But I think one of the greatest weapons of all time is guilt and shame. That is one of the greatest weapons on this planet, is to feel a sense of guilt and shame that someone else is making you feel, or that you're just refusing to give up, right? And I think people, and on the other side of it is I think it's also become accepted, or people are like, you should feel guilty, like you should feel ashamed, and you shouldn't hold on to that forever. F off. Like that's really not how the world works either. Like one of the greatest skills I think anyone can ever adopt for themselves is self-forgiveness. Like that is the thing that you should always work on, is like self-forgiveness, because if you don't, you're going to be the person that's like, people who can't forgive you and people who want you to feel guilty or ashamed, like those aren't people you should have in your life. Like we all make mistakes, we all do things, but at the end of the game is like, you need to be like we talked about on, I think Mondays, like you need to be your biggest fan, like your biggest supporter. Like the world wasn't made for you to feel these things for the rest of your life, but that's basically not all, but that's like so much of what the world is bent on, especially with like how the media is these days, and how it's like, you can just be, ridiculed and crushed for the rest of your life if you choose to, because it's like you feel like you're held hostage by this sense of guilt or shame, or that you're not worthy of doing something, or you're not able to become somebody because this, because that. Like that was one of the biggest things that I struggled with, and frankly, like I hated when I first started being AA, and one of the reasons why, obviously AA is a very anonymous program. Like not many people share about their experiences and that they are sober, they're in AA, because, it is an anonymous program, but also that like they're afraid of how it's going to affect, like your job, or like, your standing or whatever in life. And
right.
I always kind of felt not irritated by it, but because everyone assumes that if you are an alcoholic, then you are the homeless bum right on the street with a brown bag. Like you're never going to amount to anything. You're always going to be relegated to not living your best life, because you're always going to have this. And but like one of the biggest things I learned in the program and in treatment was like, forgive yourself, right? Like go through all these things. Like imagine a world, like that's why I say like AA is good for everybody. Like you could like replace word alcohol, replace it with anything you want to, and it'd be perfect for everyone, because like you go through a step where you basically talk through all the horrendous things you've ever done in your life. And then you take a step also to like make amends and apologize to everybody you've done, like everyone you've done wrong. Like as long as it's not going to hurt them further, you apologize to everybody that you've done wrong. And then to, you need to like, but the biggest thing is like for you, apologizing is for you. It's not for them, because they're going to make their own decision, right? They're either going to forgive you or not forgive you. Like one of the biggest things, one of my most memorable exchanges that you and I have ever had was, I would think I was probably maybe a year sober or something. And you and I have been through a lot together. And I remember you were still holding on to some grudges and some resentments and stuff like that. And I could tell. And I remember texting you and saying like, I think I felt bad, because I was like, I've already forgiven them, so should you. But you were still so pissed, right? Because it was done to me, and it was, you were taking that position as my best friend. You were like still pissed about it. Like you were still resented it. And I was like, do yourself a favor, man. Like forgive them, because I already have, but I didn't forgive them because I wanted their, to be like, oh, well, thank you for, I'm like, I did it for me, because like, they don't deserve for me to not, like continuously resent me. I don't know how I got to that point, but it was something I was thinking about. But I think that goes back to like how we feel about ourselves in training, is that we can be our worst enemy. We can be our worst self to ourselves, when what we should be is our best self to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're right, man. I think forgiveness is so huge to me, because I think about it in terms of like, as people that are best friends or really good friends or whatever. And I just wish it was just more that way, right? Like I don't know if sometimes we think that someone's mad at us or whatever and blah, blah, blah. You can't really kind of talk it through sometimes. But yeah, I get mad that people can't forgive, because like, in those cases, I was definitely upset, because it was just sort of this thing where somebody poured a lot of gas on the fire and they never tried to put anything out, and they walked away or whatever, and never addressed it again. I'm like, Jesus, man, okay, whatever. But like this idea of carrying guilt and shame is so ridiculously powerful, because it just really disturbs your path to being who you are and the truest form of yourself. And I think that, it all applies to triathlon. I really do think that, man. But like, because you go through these things and that's part of that journey, right? That's why we're in this sport, I think, for the most part, is like we're trying to, I always talked about breaking up the rocks inside of us and making us clean and free and a flowing being that just pursues the things that we love, and with happiness and freedom and things like that. And to me, that's so important, man, because that's what we do, man. That's what life is, And if you got, so I was talking about good friends, man. There's like, they come next, man, I'm sorry I said that last night. And I'm like, dude, I forgot that. It's gone. That's the kind of relations you want to be in. You want to like one little thing isn't going to like distort, 15 years of friendship or something like that, because, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. I I was, I think, very blessed in a way that when you were going through that, I had already gone through that with my father. He was an alcoholic, and he went through the whole program. So I learned so much from him about that kind of stuff. You know, it's like kind of letting go of things and forgiving and just not judging people all the time. And it was like really how I grew up. So when I saw you go, you know, when everything was going on and I saw how other people were treating you in certain situations, that just was like, it frustrated me. I don't know if I was just really mad at them or it's just like, I get frustrated when I don't understand how people can be hypocritical,
right? Yeah.
You know, because they're all flawed. Everybody's flawed. And we, you know, for us to just crush somebody because they're making mistakes or they did something wrong is just like, it's so telling about the person, you know.
The people who crush the most are the ones who have the most fear to be crushed by, in my opinion. Like, because it's like, you know,
seems like
it does. It seems like it, but it is. It's like one of those things where, you know, it just makes it feel like no one's got our back. Like everyone's like, oh, I love your post, like it, do it, crush it. And then when you like scale things back and you really think about like the amount of people that are really, really there for you, like thick and thin, no matter what, good and bad, come to my doorstep, like a handful. You know, it's like a very small handful, but you like spread yourself so thin between everybody else, you like probably just kind of lose touch about who those really are. You know, and I think it's just like your support system should be your support system through thick and thin, you know, no matter what. And they should be the ones that can tell you the things that you need to hear and how you should, and they should be the ones to show you grace when you're having a hard time showing yourself grace. Cause that's like, I think it's just, especially for like, it is fascinating too. Cause like so many triathletes like fail to be able to show themselves grace. And because they're so like triathletes, just they're type A, a lot of them are, they just love to be so hard on themselves. Like they just are so insanely hard. And sometimes I just can sit back and relax, or not relax, but I sit back and think like, how is this good? You know, like, how is this positive? Like if nothing you do is good enough and nothing you do, because it's not a triathlon thing, it's a life thing, right? They're just kind of looking for another outlet to kind of find some good. But like if they're in everything that we do every day, you know what we can do? We can find something bad. Like we can find where we didn't do good enough, we weren't fast enough, we didn't have enough power, we didn't do our workout enough time, or we could have gone over, I could have done more. Like that's no way to live, right? Or I signed up for a race and I really don't want to do it, but I'm just going to do it. I don't really want to. Like, how is that fun? Like, and don't ever make it about money. You know, the kind of stuff people spend money on these days, like, you know, scroll through your Amazon cart for the last 3 months and we can talk about that. Like, or your last Target bill, or, you know, what you bought. Like, it's not about the big, you know what they say?
What?
Money can't buy happiness, you know, so you can use the same. Yeah. People say that.
I've heard that.
You know what they can't is also, is think about, you know, like that's the same thing with race entries. Money can't buy happiness. Neither, you know what? Neither can races, you know, or doing events. Like if it's not about you being happy, then what is it about?
I don't know.
I got a nice one. We went off the deep end on that one.
Yeah. It's true though, man. I don't know. But I do think though that in some cases, you know, if you can, you know, like we always talk about, you know, there's no good or bad or whatever. Like fear, we think of fear immediately as a negative, but like if you can spin that into something that, you know, makes you stand up and get stronger and face it, you know, then it's always a win, you know, and I kind of think that's what a race is sometimes. And, you know, I'm sort of looking at it like, you know, it doesn't sound like the funnest thing today, but it sometimes ignites a, you know, if you got it, I mean, like if you're backed in, like I said, sometimes I like to get backed in the corner and come out. And I think I grow through that experience, but I also have to think of it not as a vengeful experience. It's just something like it's given me an opportunity to get better. And if, you know, hey, you commit to something, to me, it's just a commitment, you know, and then, you know, you always say like, if you say yes to something, do it, or just say no.
Yeah, or just telling you no is a powerful. I tell people no all the time. Yeah. I tell people no is.
I got to get better at that, man.
No, I'm good. Like, don't be rude. I'm like, I'm not. It's called self-care, right? Yeah. Sorry, and it might sound selfish, but like, I care about taking care of me, right, and doing what I can. Because if I'm taking care of me, guess what? I'm a better I'm better at everything in life. Like if you're taking care of yourself and you're nurturing what you feel like you need to nurture, then do it. I say no shit all the time, right? So do you, right? Like you do it sometimes. I'm like, hey man, we're all gonna have to eat. And you're like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm right, good. I'm like, that's not Mike not being social. That's Mike being like, what I'd rather do is not go out. So who the hell cares? If you want to do it, don't do it. Like the sense of obligation that we all feel forced into every single day is frankly just flat out annoying. It's like, because so much of life, we can just generally do whatever you want. I don't know, man. I can't do that. Really? You can't? Like, no, you're just either there's something, in between, like there's just something that you're afraid, like, I can't do this, or like, I really want to, like, I feel like I have to. I'm like, there's a whole lot of not you have to. Like, people are so afraid to, piss people off or upset people or disappoint people. And,
but if you're afraid and deep down that it would be good for you, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Got to do it.
You got to step in there.
And that could be
going out to dinner, because usually that's I don't want to do it. And then you go and it's like, really, it's good for you to be around people. Like if you're isolating or something like that, I think those are the fine lines of saying no and when you should say yes.
If it scares you the most, you should always say yes. I mean, this is doing what we are and what we have done right now in the hub is one of the scariest things that I've ever been a part of, like in my sober life, at least, in a responsible manner. Is like,
yeah.
Because I think I wanted to can it like, I don't know, 324 times at least. Because like, but going back to like excuses, like we had every excuse. It's the middle of a pandemic. No one would blame us. No races going on. Don't blame us. Like you could just kind of get by. I get it. I get it, man. It's probably not a good time. Said no one ever who's done anything incredible. Not that this place is incredible, but looking in like 2.5 weeks where, we could have dropped $100,000 for a pop-up tent and hope to see people come across the tent, and now to, have people come in and out here every week from all over the country and have these experiences and get to see people and know how many friends and family we're going to see, the next week. So I'm like, that's why you take the leap. That's why you do shit that's scary. That's why you do things that, people are like, that doesn't make any sense. Like I was on a conversation yesterday where a guy that is part of a business in the triathlon field. He was like, that's an interesting model you guys have. Like, I don't know that anybody's doing anything like that. And I'm like, they're not, but we don't care. We're like, we just felt like we needed to do it. It's like, but you're like, well, if you look out there, like, well, there's no demand for that. There is no, you have to do this. And like, it's just do what you love and do what makes you happy. And I swear, if you just do those things, regardless if it's scary or, whatever, it's like, it'll be worth it because it'll all be rooted in one thing, which is like what you wanted to do is make yourself happy and do things that made you feel good. And if you can keep that as the root to like at the core of everything you want to accomplish in life, then it's probably going to work out okay. Kind of like 57 minutes into this podcast. We kind of generally all works out okay.
It does, man.
Good luck titling this one.
Wait. I already have one in mind.
You already have one in mind?
It's a little vague, but
that's not. Yeah, we like vague. We like the Seinfeld horoscope.
Yeah, it's not going to be like I gotta. You're not going to find this one in a Google search.
That's probably a good thing. As always, we love you. We appreciate you giving us your time today. I know we didn't talk about a whole lot of triathlon, but we kind of did because you're people, you're humans. You go through it all too. Show yourself some grace. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Do whatever the hell you want to do. Be empowered to do that. And I think that's an important thing to mention, probably more often than we probably do. But hop over to our website for life coaching. No, I'm just kidding. For a triathlon and actually life coaching, which is basically what we do. Website is C26Triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, community. We've also had a lot of people coming in and out of our condo right now. It's like 50 yards from the hub. People just kind of swinging through town. People want to come in and visit or do a training weekend for Ironman Chattanooga or just come into town in general. Hit us up. Again, it's our website. You can have all the information's on there. Our club membership is still going on strong. That's under the coaching tab. Go around 3, click on the club membership. We'll plan out the rest of your year because races are happening. They're not getting canceled. They're happening. So if you want to be in, be all in. Don't dip your toe. Be in. We also have a nice tab that highlights all the awesome coaches that we have on board. So make sure you scroll through those. If you have any questions about, coming in the hub and doing a swim analysis, bike fit, any kind of overall testing, want the full experience, and anything about camps and gear, you can email c26operations@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns from Mike directly, he is at crushingiron@gmail.com, or just email me for anything else at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, man. I enjoyed it.
.com.
See you.